hiring great sales reps is harder than ever. Candidates know how to interview well, but the question is, can they actually close? So in this video, I'm going to show you a simple process that we use to identify top performers, even in a competitive market. So why does this matter more than ever? So the competition right now in the world is much higher than it ever was. So the demand for elite sales professionals is at an all-time high. Every company, there's new companies that are starting, and everybody's looking for good performers. And securing top talent is highly competitive. Everybody's looking for people, and everybody wants the best. There's also the cost of a bad hire. So poor hiring decisions are expensive, right? It can burn leads, you can damage the team's morale, and it reduces the overall productivity. And if you're selling as a founder and you bring in a new sales guy and now you expect them to sell without any training or anything like that, they're just going to burn through the leads and they're all going to go to waste. So the key is to have structured hiring. So a systemic approach is crucial, and consistently identifying top sales talent and effectively attracting them and retaining them. So it's not just about bringing them in, it's to create a system that actually brings them and keeps them there and then ramps them up to KPI. So the challenge, the hiring landscape has shifted dramatically. So creating new and complex obstacles for sales leaders this year. So the truth is, once you bring on a new salesperson, right? Or let's say you go into the interview, right? So there's the interview and then there's the reality. So traditional interviews often fail to reveal the true on-the-job sales skills, right? Because people, when they're on the call with you or if they meet you in person, right, they can tell you whatever they want. They can say whatever they want, they truly want. So the potential and real world performance, they go unassessed, right? You don't actually know what he did, right? So the goal is that you would want to actually find out what he did. So remote hiring, right? And a lot of times, especially in the world nowadays, everything is remote. So assessing critical skills becomes much harder in a remote environment, and evaluating cultural fit is a significant challenge, especially virtually, right? You don't actually meet the person, you don't know what he does, how his problem solving skills are, so that becomes much harder. And then AI widens the gap. So rapid AI integration creates tech savvy advantages for some, right? The people that know how to use and leverage AI are going to have an advantage over the people that don't know how to use AI. And less adaptive reps struggle to keep pace with the new tools. And we'll go through all of that. And top talent is picky, right? Elite sales professionals have more options than before, and they're increasingly selective about where they choose to commit their talent. When we talk to sales reps, they don't even want to get on the phone until they know who they're going to be working for, the potential comp, how many leads they're going to be getting. So they want to know all these things. And they don't even want to talk to you if you don't have a good process and a good offer and a good way to ramp them up and to make them successful. So what makes a top performer? So elite sales professionals stand out with specific capabilities and traits that drive their success. So let's explore some of these key characteristics. So proactive prospecting. So the best reps don't wait for leads, right? They actively build a consistent sales pipeline. So they do smart, persistent outreach. So you can be giving your reps leads, and you can be giving them and they can be going on the calls, but after they get off the call, it's over, right? So the best reps, right? It's not just about the initial call, it's also about following up with those and then also going outbound, right? Like if any leads came in, right, and they didn't book a call, you got to be going out there and finding them. That's kind of what the setter does. Now, if you're a closer and you've spoken to a lead, you should be reaching back out. You should be following back up. And Alex Hormozi has this thing that he calls it BAM FAM. So it's book a meeting from a meeting. So when you're on a call with somebody and they're not ready to move forward for whatever reason it is, book another meeting from that meeting so at least this lead isn't in no man's land. So strategic discovery. So go beyond the service level questions. So uncover real challenges, identify underlying customer needs, right? So you want to know, how do they actually think? How do they problem solve? Can they think on their feet? So you want to know these things and not just like go for the surface level questions. And then full cycle ownership. So from first contact to closing, so they have to take complete responsibility and they have to manage the entire sales process. So the winners, the top performers, they actually they want to own everything. So bad performers, what they do is like they blame, oh, it was his job, it was his job. But the best players, they don't look at it like that. They do whatever it takes to close it. And that's the key in identifying a top performer. So now, once you get started in identifying and interviewing people, you should develop a scorecard. So to ensure fairness and consistency, a strong scorecard is essential for objective evaluation. So what do you want to do when you're talking to them? What do you want to put on this scorecard? So you want to identify crucial competencies and you want to prioritize behavior for success. You want to prioritize behaviors for success. So you want to know what behaviors, right? How do they think on their feet? Can they problem solve, right? Because we've had people where you bring them in and they sound amazing on paper, and then once they have to problem solve something, like that's it, like they're gone. And the key is like you really want to find these people that are not just there to collect a check or whatever it is, that they actually are there because they're invested into the business. And you want to evaluate deal experience. This is a big one. So you want to review consistent quota attainment and you want to assess navigation of complex deals. You want to know what offers did they sell, right? Because if you're talking to a rep and that rep sold low ticket and you're selling high ticket, so the rep was selling something that's $500 and now you're selling something that is $10,000. That's a complete different price point. That's a complete different sales cycle. That's completely different than what low ticket is, right? So you want to make sure to have the most success is get you somebody that has actually sold in that type of offer, in that type of sales cycle, so that way they can come in and they already know what to expect. So they're not like learning and figuring everything out on your dime. And you want to identify red flags. So watch for vague answers, right? So people will spin things and not tell you the truth or avoid the question. And this is massive. So note tendencies to blame external factors. So the real players, they know how to sell. The real players take responsibility for everything. They don't sit there and blame other people and blame the setter and blame the leads. They take responsibility for everything. So those are the kind of people that you want to be looking for, and that's what you want to put inside your scorecard. So pro tip, so make sure all interviews use the exact same scorecard and rating scale. Don't forget to calibrate after interviews for consistent evaluation across the team. So you want to use the same metrics that you look at for everybody, and everybody gets graded on that. And that way you can build a scorecard and you can actually tell like, okay, you know what, this person seems good. This person, has good sales skills but bad problem solving skills, or they know how to close but they're not really a people's person, right? So all these things, you want to look at them and you want to build a scorecard to see what they're good at and what they're not good at. So now the question is, how do we attract this type of talent, right? So finding the right people requires a strategic, proactive approach to bring in elite talent. So a lot of people will just use job boards, right? So we'll place an ad and hope to get good people, and then you hire somebody from that, and then you wonder, well, they're not doing well, they're not performing well. Why aren't they? You know what? There's no good salespeople, right? Yeah, because the good salespeople are not hanging around job boards. Good salespeople are actually selling. So that is the key when you're looking at, just keep in mind, job boards can work, right? It's more of a volume play, but you're typically not going to get the highest performing sales reps. So for us, the thing that has worked the best is direct outbound. So you want to proactively target high potential candidates. So say you're a marketing agency, go look at the top performing marketing agencies and look at who's on their team. The key that we use is always look at the tenure. So if somebody's been there for 3 months, 6 months, it doesn't count. It doesn't mean anything. But when somebody has been there for 2, 3, 4 years, you typically know that they're most probably performing because the company wouldn't just keep them around if they were not. So you want to engage them. You want to engage those that are not actively searching, right? So you want to direct message them. You want to reach out to them. And you want to bring the top talent directly to you. So you don't want to just wait on people to come to you. You want to go out and get them. And that's what we have found that has brought us the highest caliber of talent. Another way that can work is content attraction. So you build an irresistible employer brand. So like large brands, people already know them. So people go to them, right? Like you already know like an Alex Hormozy, right? If Alex Hormozy posts a job that he's looking for sales reps, like people will go to him, right? Because he already has the brand, he has the content. So you want to share valuable insights and showcase culture, and you want to naturally draw in the best talent. So the biggest brands, the ones that have the most brand loyalty, though they are the ones that bring in the best talent. So one of the best ways that we have found to work is referral networks. So you want to leverage trusted connections of top performers. So when you have a good sales team, right, or you have good sales performers and you have reps that are doing well, create a referral program so that they can bring in people to you. right? And what I see a lot of people do is that they'll do like $1,000 referral. Well, the question is, what does that rep produce in a year, right? Rep produces, let's just say, 500,000 in yearly revenue, right? On the low side. Okay, what is that in profit? Let's just say 20% to the bottom line. That's $100,000. Would you spend 10,000 to make back 100 on a killer rep? So I think like these are the things that you have to look at. And once, like when you raise it from like 1,000 to 5,000 to 10,000, you've literally created people that will actually go and bring it back. You have to make the offer really irresistible. You cannot just create a $500, $1,000 thing. And I see that a lot that people do. And they wonder why it doesn't work. That's exactly why it doesn't work. That's how you discover outstanding candidates, and you want to utilize recommendations because referrals are really good. Good people typically attract good people, and you can build your team that way if you create a good referral program that's effective. Now, let's go into the interview process. So you want to make sure that you're assessing real selling capability by focusing on solid performance evidence, not just talk. So when you're talking to these candidates, you want to look at their past deals, right? Review their recent deals for specific contributions and outcomes. What did they actually achieve? Like, what did you actually do? What did you actually sell? How much did you sell it to? What are your numbers? You want to know all these things, right? And you don't want them to just tell you. You want them to actually prove it. If you can get them to actually prove it, that is the best. And the next step that you want to do is you want to do a role play scenario. This is actually huge. So you want to observe them in action. How do they conduct discovery? How do they handle pushback and objections? If you can give them a 5, 10, 15-minute simulation, that's amazing. Because that way you can actually see how do they sell, how do they respond, all this stuff. So that is really big. And then the next one is that you want to get to know their culture and behavior. So assess their fit with your team and your company values. Do their behaviors align with your principles, right? You want to make sure that they align with the same things, right? Like there are certain companies that you look for killers, right? So you don't want somebody that's like in it just to play around. You want to actually get people that have the same culture. So if you guys are, hardcore, we want to sell and we're dialed in, you don't want to get a bunch of people that are like very lax, that like don't care or are like, I'm just going to wait for leads to come to me. Because when you do that, you create an environment like that. So like reps will rub off on other reps. So it's huge. You don't want to have a bad apple because the bad apple ruins the entire tree. So you really want to focus on the culture and the behavior. So when you look at it, you want to really look at this graph, right? There's the high evidence, there's low evidence, then there's ambiguous role and the clear role ownership, right? So low evidence is beware of numbers that don't add up, right? People will give you numbers, right? They're like, well, my average ticket was $500 and I closed $1 million. Well, do the math, right? How many people is that, right? Is it actually possible that they close this amount, right? Is it an operational role? Is it an online role? So you want to learn all these things because that makes a huge difference. And then, are they monopolizing success or acknowledging team efforts, right? So a lot of people will say, we did as a team $1 million. Well, we is not you. So when you're hiring sales reps, you really want to know what they actually did, right? Like, what are you going to expect from your team? And what are you supposed to expect from that person? And if they can't discuss specifics, it might be a general claim. It might be just a team claim. And inability to discuss failure. So a lack of learning from mistakes is a major warning sign. So the best reps will learn from their mistakes. Well, I said this and it didn't really work, or they don't follow the script. So you want reps that can own up to their mistakes and learn from their mistakes. So that's a huge one. And you want people that are like receptive when you teach them and you show them. You don't want somebody that's going to come in and like, I know it all and whatever. Now, the main thing, you want to validate with proof. So when assessing these candidates, focus on concrete evidence and proven results, not just their narrative. So not just what they tell you. You want to actually find out what they did. What is their quota? Did they meet it? Are they not? What's going on? What's their deal size, right? Kind of like what we spoke about beginning, and the sales cycle. What kind of sales cycle are they doing? Because a 90-day sales cycle and a 7-day sales cycle is completely different. Different kind of selling. So you really want to look into all of that and make sure that you can align it as much as possible, because they'll ramp up faster and typically they will sell better. So individual contribution, define their specific role in their team's success, and quantify specific contributions to past projects, and then pipeline management. So systemic approach to building new leads and strategies for managing and advancing deals. So you want to know, okay, after they finished with a sales call, what do they do next, right? Do they set a time to talk again? Do they put in their notes to follow up? What are they actually doing? Are they doing anything, or they're just, okay, you know what, let me wait for the next lead? And the key is when you're interviewing and you're talking to reps, they essentially are like a customer, right? Because there's two funnels that we like to call it, right? There is the revenue engine, there's the sales funnel, and then there is the recruiting funnel. So you want to have them both, right? Because at the end of the day, a lead you can always replace, but it is much harder to replace a good sales rep. So it's the same thing, right? So you need to treat hiring like you have to treat it as sales, right? So approach hiring like you would a top sales prospect, and you want to understand their needs, right? So when you talk to these candidates, you want to discover their motivations, their goals, and what do they seek in the role, right? So when you speak with a rep and you say, well, what is your goal? Like, what are you trying to get out of this? And this is actually one of the questions that I ask, because that way you'll know, are they going to be there long term? Are they actually motivated? Because some people just don't care, and some people are truly motivated. And the people that are truly motivated, they'll be like, oh, well, I want to buy a house, and I want to get married, and I want to have kids. You know that those people are in it for the long run, and they're actually going to work with you, and they're going to be motivated. So that's huge. So always find out, like, what's their goal? And then actively listen and resolve any hesitations or questions they may have. Because the truth is, hiring is like sales. At the end of the day, you have to convince them to come and join on your team. And the better they are, the more convincing and the more you're going to have to articulate the value. So clearly communicate the compelling reasons to join your team. And then always what I like to do is, if they are motivated and they actually have goals, outline a clear career growth opportunity and see how they can achieve their ambitions there. That's huge. Show them where they can end up, because if that's what they want, then show them that. And if you show them that, then they're going to be more likely to come and join your team. And then earning potential. So be transparent and competitive about compensation and benefits from the start. That's huge. People come to us and they say, well, I want to, give them minimum wage. Well, I'm like, look, the best players are not going to come for minimum wage. It's just a fact. So you really need to compete. And I mean, you see this in sports, you see this in all different industries, that if you want to attract the best players, you have to be willing to pay top dollar. And then highlight how effective your management, mentorship, and vision for the future is. So show them the leadership. Top players don't like micromanagers. So show them the leadership, what can they expect, and communication. So respond quickly and thoughtfully to candidates, showing respect for their time and interest. So communicate, don't just leave them in the dark, give them updates throughout time so they know where they're in that process. Because if you wait too long, they're going to get turned off and they're going to go and they're just not going to want to work with you. So elite sales teams know how to find, evaluate, and close top talent like clockwork. It's all about having a clear system in place. So to recap it, so essentially define, right? So clearly set what you're looking for. What makes a rep elite for your team? And then you want to evaluate. You want to score the candidates consistently against those criteria and always demand proof of their claims. And then close. So once you've found them, sell them the opportunity to join your team. So systemic sales hiring will dominate. Elite talent is the ultimate competitive advantage. The better your team is, the more money you will make, and the better and easier your life will be, right? You don't want to just keep retraining people because people keep leaving, right? Pay them well, define what success looks like. And once you have a great team, it's much easier to scale that way. This is how it works. And if you want our help to help you find any sort of sales talent, click the link below. We're going to be happy to help. We'll get to know what you're looking for and show you what we can do, and we'll see you on the inside.